restrictions lifted. Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges. Weapons restrictions lifted.
Hello. Stay out there, Lou.
A couple in Minnesota is under fire after being seen wearing swastika masks inside a Walmart store over the weekend. In a video posted on social media, the couple was confronted by others in the store.
You're wearing a swastika.
If you vote for Biden, you're going to be in Nazi Germany. That's what it's going to be like.
So if our viewers couldn't understand what she was saying through her swastika mask, that woman said in the video, quote, "If you vote for Biden, you're going to be living in Nazi Germany. That's what it's going to be like." This incident took place in Marshall, Minnesota on the first day of the state's mandatory mask mandate. For more on this, let's bring in Bo Erickson. He's a CBS News campaign reporter. Bo, great to be speaking with you. Very strange circumstances, though. You actually spoke with people who saw these individuals. What were the shoppers saying, and were they actually confronted?
Good work. New order.
Well, hi, Lana. You're right. This is a very shocking video that a lot of people saw this weekend. It's been shared thousands and thousands of times already, and it actually is a little personal to me because that is my hometown Walmart store right down the street from my parents' house. So I was able to get a lot of people on the phone real quickly and try to figure out what actually happened here. And it looks like I spoke with the person who actually recorded the video, and she is a Lutheran vicar actually nearby in a nearby town, and she said that she saw these two individuals wearing the swastika masks earlier in the store. She went to go then report them to store management, and then after that, that is when she turned around and they were checking out right then and there. As you saw, they were confronted by a little group of people, and the person who filmed the video said that it was mostly younger people in the store that took issue with it. So there was this back and forth, and then it came out to be that these two people were trying to use this racist symbol, the swastika, to make a more political point about Joe Biden, the candidate that I cover in the presidential race right now, about that if he is elected, he will make the country socialism. And obviously, the swastika does not mean socialism, it's Nazism. And so the woman was trying to explain this to them in a very offensive way, and I think she needs to check her historical facts.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Bo, as you were talking to people in your hometown there, were you able to figure out either who these people are or get them to explain a little bit more of, because they said that they were trying to protest against fascism, protest against socialism, by wearing these masks as opposed to celebrating Nazi xenophobia and hate crimes. I'm still trying to, I guess we're all still trying to wrap our minds around what was going on there.
Yeah, it was wild. So they said in the store when they were confronted that they weren't Nazis. They were trying to make this political point. So that kind of sent me on a chase to find out who these individuals are. This town is only 15,000 people. So when you go to Walmart in this town, you see a lot of people that you know, and
Hello, Sam. It's a pleasure to see you again. Do remember not to neglect your health.
Good work. New order available. Order assigned. Keep on keeping on. Weapons restrictions lifted. Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Quarter Bridges.
Those are things we don't want in the United States.
No.
And one other thing.
There's
that-
people with predatory behavior in every...
Excuse me, but you'll get mad at me, but if I could say this, it's not baked into their religion.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Trump supporters, can I have you over there? My immigrants, can I have you in the other light? Sometimes I feel anxious about how the other side views me.
So it's not necessarily
Stay out there, look.
really about the idea of immigrants, but I'm Muslim, and there can be a lot of directed aggression from Trump supporters that I think I felt and other people in my Muslim community have felt. And that's why I'm here sitting with you guys.
I own a clothing line, Magapreneur. This is my clothing line. I'm a political strategist and a political activist. And when I leave my house, I because every day I get death threats. So I think we both should be able to freely express ourselves. I love everybody, I love everybody. I'll fight for your right for freedom, that I expect for you to fight for mine too, because that's why we're here.
My name is Shastina, so I absolutely love immigration, but I believe that we need to secure our border. And it's the same thing that I wouldn't just let anyone in my car or in my house.
All right, disagreeers, come on in.
I used to get anxious about how I'm perceived, not just by the quote-unquote other side, because my identity is very apparent. In standing in my truth, I think it allows other folks to stand in theirs and to invite people to also learn more about me rather than be worried about how I'm perceived.
I think my group gets represented unfairly in the media.
Well, I'm a Mexican, and I hesitated because when Trump said the things about Mexicans being criminals and all that, I didn't take it personal because I'm not that. So I was like, that does not represent me. Like,
I don't take it.
yeah. So that's why I hesitated. But then I'm like, I am not only one Mexican individual who's an immigrant. I'm part of all the immigrants, no matter what country you're from.
We can say the same thing for Trump supporters, right?
Yeah,
I mean, now we have to, maybe I wasn't called racist, but you were called racist. Well, guess what? We're both Trump supporters, so now we have to band together.
Could I ask both of you a question? And I'd like an honest reaction to this. In my mind, it's languaging. I'm a writer. And I think if we made a distinction between jihadists and Muslims, that would solve a big problem.
That's plausible, and I think a lot of that goes into really the realm of how much people really are interested in understanding that kind of diversification and allowing the community that does know that really, take the lead and initiative and show other people what that's about.
I feel threatened by this presidency.
When President Trump got elected as president, I was scared. Even though I had not a reason to be, because I'm legal here, power becomes scary in the hands of a monster. Power becomes scary in the hands of ignorance. And I'm scared about my people, and not only, like I said, the Mexicans, all the good, hardworking immigrants.
Yeah, I think the election night was when I felt alarmed. I've been a community organizer and an activist for 15 years now, right? That night, it felt like a slap in the face to all of the work that we have always tried to do in terms of humanizing ourselves.
My name is Kifa Shah. I think we realize as immigrants how lucky we are to be here, and that's why we want to create a society that's more welcoming for others to be here.
You said it was a slap in the face, and I take offense to that, because you're saying you worked so hard, and yet we worked so hard too, to elect a president of the United States that we think will enforce the laws, will enforce the United States Constitution. And it wasn't to be racist, or it wasn't to boot you out of the country. And it was to enforce the First Amendment. It's actually to enforce your freedom of speech. I understand why you're scared, that as a white Trump supporter, I am scared of this presidency because I have lost my freedom of speech. I have lost my freedom of religion. I have lost my freedom to wear this shirt in the public just because I have a different political Now I'm the enemy in my own country.
I think that that's unfortunate that that happened to you, but it's almost like you have some semblance of the reality that people of color live with for centuries here.
But I've never seen that. And
That's the first time you felt that, right?
Right, but I'm just going to let you know that my neighbors are black. I have Muslim neighbors. I have neighbors of all kinds. When we go to the grocery store and I'm picking out yogurt who looks like someone just like you.
But it doesn't mean that you experience the same thing as me, even though we eat the same yogurt.
But nobody in my county treats people like that. It's just. it's not done.
I don't think you would be able to say that. I lived in Orange County up until a few months ago. If I'm at a mall or if I'm even at the beach, right, I get a lot of strange stares. I even feel like a lot of people after the election came up to me asking me about my positions, my religion, my identity. So what I'm trying to say is, like, I can actually relate to what you went through, because that, to be honest, is a shred of similarity to what people of color have
And
always
since we
felt.
came here and we were born, basically.
I believe in immigration, but I am against illegal immigration.
My whole thing is assimilation, right? So like making sure that the cultures match. If, you know, someone in the Middle East who's gay will be killed, right? That's the thing, and it's horrible. If someone with that culture somehow makes it through vetting and comes here and then sees a gay couple, you know, kissing or whatever, they're gonna freak out, or they're gonna react very differently in a way that, you know, we're trying to move past and we're not trying to be held back by. So I believe assimilation is probably one of the most important factors of why we need legal and not illegal immigration.
My thing is about money. An awful lot of people who came here legally don't want illegal people being able to come or get free college. It costs $118 billion in welfare benefits. That's a huge, why do I have to pay so that Walmart has cheap workers? My name's Ken Unger. I don't have anything against immigrants. It's a political problem. It's not an immigrant problem.
I was an illegal immigrant at one point in my life. I am not anymore. But ultimately, we left a country of war, a country where extremism and terrorism was a reality. And this is something that was on the daily, oppression towards women.
But if we don't have legal immigration, then we'll have that here. We want you to come and be safe, but don't you want that for everyone else? It doesn't matter where you're coming from.
I think it might be a misconstrued or a misconception to think that the illegal immigrants might bring up the crime rates. And when we're talking about what happens after immigrants, or refugees or illegals and anything come into the state, and how can we help them from here? I think that is the real essential question. We have a humanitarian duty to help one another out, regardless of if we're Afghan, if we're Israeli, if we're American. We're all humans, ultimately.
That's so fantastic, but what about our vets? What about our children that are starving? What about our foster homes that are full? What about them? We're not helping them. We're taking in all these refugees. If we can't fix our citizens, how can we fix
Weapons restrictions lifted.
others? It's just kind of like, if I can't love myself, I can't love another person.
It should be easier to immigrate into America.
It should be easier. The wait time should be shorter, right? Yeah. But I believe that it's so lengthy not because the process is so extreme. I mean, personally, I think it's so lengthy because it's mismanaged.
Yes.
I think that,
too many
like,
hands in the cookie jar.
Well, that too, but I think it's just like there's a way and a process that should be put in place so it's not 15 years. Let's say that they fully cooperate, right? Let's say they have everything, they have all their documents, and they're ready. Yeah, I think it should be a lot shorter.
So you're saying make it less bureaucratic?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I mean, I think I would agree with that. I just feel like when it comes to Trump, you support the individual, but then the bureaucracy, the administration, all of that is so painstaking and just
Want to sell
so
online?
inefficient.
Go to Wix.com today and do it like this guy.
Oh my God!
This is...
Those are things we don't...
I would agree.
We're taking in all these refugees. If we can't fix our...
Is that
right?
for me, support the individual. That is so painful.
Right.
doesn't really compute for me, so I think I'm
Well,
having...
we've only been in there a year, right?
For me,
and we have so many changes that we want to make.
So let's talk about a couple of policy things. What about the Muslim ban or the travel ban?
The travel ban to me was more of a, well, it was something
It
that was
was
created
Obama's
by Obama
ban.
anyway.
So
but it was enacted
But
by
it was
Trump.
enacted by
Don't get me
Trump,
wrong. I agree with the travel ban, right? And I agree with refugees. But that's two separate things to me.
So what I'm trying to say is that none of these policies that are happening are not to do with one another. They're all intertwined. When we say we support the travel ban, but we also support refugees, but we also want to help them get vaccinations, and we also want to do this, and we also want to, well, don't forget, we're funding the same bombs that are causing the Yemenis to have to become refugees.
But there has to be a reason, right?
It's
all connected, right? So
why are we bombing Yemen?
Personally, I haven't looked into Yemen.
I guess I'm missing your point.
Refugees you support.
Yes.
Travel ban, Muslim ban you support.
It's not a Muslim
it's not a Muslim
ban,
ban.
yes.
I support a travel ban so we can assess who's coming in.
I just think it's important to contextualize. Like you're saying, nothing happens in a vacuum, right? And I think that if we start to actually connect the dots, like I'm encouraging us to do, then it'll become a lot more understandable.
I mean, I don't believe in bombing anyone.
I would like to answer your question about why we're bombing Yemen. We're not bombing Yemen, we're bombing radical jihadists in Yemen who are killing people. That's why we're bombing parts of Yemen selectively to kill people who are doing terrible, terrible things. And there's a tremendous amount of rape happening in England, taking these little girls, grooming them because they feel they have the right to do it. We don't want that here.
Absolutely not.
Those are things we don't want in the United States. And one other thing.
There's people with predatory behavior in every...
Excuse me,
we don't want it everywhere. We don't want it anywhere.
If I could say this, and you'll get mad at me, but if I could say this, it's not baked into their religion. There are 109 passages in the Quran where people are told to kill infidels and Christians and Jews. There's nothing like that in our Bible or in the Bhagavad Gita or in anything Buddha taught or any other religion I'm aware of in the world. Until people renounce those values, then they scare me.
I don't think, so I haven't renounced any part of my religion in front of you, so I hope that you don't feel threatened by me. So I'm not sure what you mean by that, and I won't renounce any part of Islam. The point that I'm trying to make is that you didn't really answer the question.
No, he did. He said the reason why we're bombing Yemen is to save the people. Because I'm assuming that in Yemen,
And
we've got some bad guys in
the reason we want a travel
there.
ban is to keep out people like that.
Guys, remember, this is a video about Trump and immigrants. We're mixing too much the religion,
Well, I think
the
when
race.
it comes with the travel ban,
yes,
it brings
yes,
in
but
the
you
religion.
shouldn't question somebody's religion. I am very religious, and I'm not putting anything about my religion in here. I'm here to talk about me as an immigrant. You guys are here to talk about Donald Trump, supporting him. And yes, I've learned a lot. Like, you guys are human too. You have values. Who would have thought, that we would have found a common ground and we wouldn't hit each other right here, because after the media portraying you guys as bad or us as terrorists, whatever.
You're right. I think the media is portraying us all in a different light.
I think that we're portraying ourselves in a very different light too. I mean, I feel very attacked just now for my religion when I did come here to talk about myself as an immigrant.
Yes,
but
that's what I'm saying.
But you kept talking about the travel ban. It's a Muslim ban.
That
it's a
has
Muslim
to do
ban.
with immigration.
And it's not a Muslim ban.
But what I'm trying to just say is that no one should have to explain Muslim, Christian, Jewish, none of the above,
what they are to you. But Muslims continuously have to defend not not only their religion, but their humanity.
What I love about this country is the diversity. When I came here from Mexico, I just love how there was different religions, different colors, different people. Like, it's amazing. It's beautiful, and I don't understand how empty of a human you have to be to discriminate someone just because of their looks. Ignorance to assume.
It's these pre-programmed thoughts in our head from just media, is what I believe, just blowing things out of proportion, just consistently, just the outlook on minorities or the outlook on people in certain situations is just bad. Once you humanize someone when you're having a conversation, and I look past, you know, whatever these biases that people try to enact on me, right? Or that I see, and I start looking at you as a person, and I start listening to what you're saying, you really realize that it's not that different. I mean, we have different situations, we have different information, but we're all trying to do the best that we have.
I think the real interesting aspect that I guess a lot of discrimination is really about is taking this general idea of a phenomenon where you can associate, in my case at least, like Muslims, terrorists, equal each other, and take individuals and group them so easily with that sort of discrimination. And I think that's something that we have to work towards in terms of separating ourselves from doing that.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, I still can't believe that.
Good work. New order available. his great leadership.
This is the next world. I hope it's good. With the economy in crisis mode and deaths continuing to soar, obviously this is all bad for President Trump's re-election hopes. And today, Trump came up with a brilliant new strategy for the election. Just don't have one.
Fox News alert, some breaking news this hour. A tweet from the White House, President Trump tweeting out a short time ago on the upcoming presidential election.
With universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good, 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It will be a great embarrassment to the USA. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote. Question marks.
To be very clear, the president cannot do that. The Constitution is unambiguous about this, that Congress, not a president who may have their own self-interest in mind, gets to decide when the leader of the United States is elected. And to his other point, there is no evidence, of course, of widespread voter fraud through mail-in voting.
Voters and ignore the other part of your electoral strategy.
We are 98 days away from Election Day, and public opinion polls show President Trump slipping over his handling of coronavirus. I sat down with a group of voters in Florida and Texas, two of these states hardest hit by the virus. All of them voted for President Trump in 2016. Today, half of them regret that vote. Here is our latest Pulse of the People. Show of hands, how many of you voted for President Trump in 2016? Okay, all of you voted for President Trump. Show of hands, how many of you plan to vote for him again in November? Okay, 3 hands went up. Daniel, tell us your thoughts.
I believe that his handling of the pandemic has been horrendous. I think his lack of accountability and an old political term, he waffles on everything. He did say this, he didn't say that. And he meant this, but he didn't mean that. He's totally unpredictable.
I don't think anyone could have handled it any better. Listen to health experts. When Donald Trump says something about ingesting Lysol, don't take it, obviously that's an absurd statement. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He should not be speaking on health matters, frankly.
But he is.
He's not qualified to do it. He wasn't taking it as seriously as he should. But the entire government failed us. They were focused on impeachment as COVID was spreading. That's what they were focused on. They were all missing the ball.
Show of hands, have any of you had a friend or loved one or know someone who got very sick with COVID and or died? Okay, so 3 of you know people who got sick. Tommy, tell us what you think about President Trump's response to coronavirus.
Well, they didn't get extremely sick and die, but I had a nephew and several friends that have tested positive for COVID. I will say this, I am a business owner. My wife and I own a 24/7 fitness center. We had to close our gym for 84 days. We've had the business for 7 years. And I just want to point out again that this all happened while Donald Trump has been president.
Trump has done what he can do. Okay, this is exactly what's happening is small businesses are losing their businesses, that's their livelihood because of this pandemic. I have people who I do know who have tested positive for COVID, my in-laws. Okay, one, she had to wear the mask because she's got allergies. I think the breathing of her own breath and having to, deal with allergies, I think that got her sick. She started to get a fever. She's over 60 years old. She panics because there's a fear mongering going on. Oh, you're going to die. So she runs, they test her positive. She goes home, had fever for 2 days. She's fine now. And she's older.
I guess I'm confused about your point. I mean, do you think that people are not dying around the country?
What I'm trying to say and make a point to is that 382 million Americans, 4 million have tested positive and 145,000 have died.
Yeah, so you're willing to live with those numbers. Those numbers are okay for you.
But no number of death is okay. If you do the math, is a 99.9% survival rate. What are we freaking out about? Okay, I don't understand. 99%. In 2017, 2018, there was 13% more deaths in heart disease than in COVID. Also, 3 times more deaths of accidents and car accidents, but we didn't shut down the interstates and take people's cars away.
We didn't shut down the freeways because there's car accidents. What we did was we did science and testing, and we came to the conclusion that seatbelts were necessary to keep us out there motoring along as safely as possible. And as far as heart disease goes, I can't walk into my local supermarket and catch that from the idiot standing next to me.
I have a breathing problem, and therefore, if I don't wear a mask, I'm an idiot.
Okay.
So you'd rather I die because I can't breathe with a mask on, and I'm an idiot because I didn't wear the mask.
Okay.
Do you know how?
If you're going to come to my grocery store and use that feeble excuse, yes, you are. You can breathe fine with a mask.
I cannot.
So, Damani, what's it like to hear the strong reservations of your fellow panelists here?
Well, I think that everyone has a right to their own opinion, but I also do believe that here in America, we have a lot of serious problems that need to be taken care of that honestly have been allowed to fester for far too long.
I don't think there's anything Trump could do that would make his supporters that are dug in not vote for him. Because in my opinion, if that were the case, then they would be thinking like me right now.
I'm hearing a repeat of 2016. The anti-Trumpers, the people who are like, oh, I can't vote for him.
It's not fair to call someone like me a never Trumper because I voted for the man in 2016.
Correct.
Me too. Thank you, Tommy. Yeah.
Yeah, you all did. I mean, you all
but
did.
What I'm saying is a rhetoric. It's a rhetoric of the Never Trump movement. I didn't say you
It's
one.
not a
I'm saying
rhetoric. It's
rhetoric
based
of
on
a repeat of
fact.
2016. It's a 2016.
Right.
It's the
But
same.
we at least
same
gave him
rhetoric.
we gave him the chance. We gave him the opportunity. We gave him the chance. It's what he's done in office, not what he did on his Twitter feed or his personal life or private life prior to becoming president.
I think we need someone with the temperament of Donald Trump, even though sometimes he is unpredictable. I think we need the temperament of Donald Trump because he is someone who is willing to call out what other people will refuse to call out. And I think that's something that we really need right now.
I'll say one more thing. I saw an interview with Donald Trump with the guy from Barstool Sports the other night, and something that Donald Trump said hit me pretty ironically. He said, you know, that the preceding years prior to me announcing running for president were the best of my life. I can't remember his exact quote, but he was fabulously wealthy and had this great life. And I would just like to remind him that Barack Obama was president during the best times of his life. So if Donald Trump loses, we will get through it.
That was really interesting to me. And I will say that it's the very beginning. The mere layout of it is interesting. If you have three people who voted for Donald Trump who have regrets, and we heard from two of them there say they are directly related to the pandemic, that reflects what we're seeing in the polls right now, that there is serious
of our conversation with 6 voters from Texas and Florida, all of whom voted for President Trump in 2016. We wanted to know how they feel about President Trump's leadership today. As you're about to hear, 3 of them, the 3 in the bottom row, now regret their vote. Here is our Pulse of the People. Tommy, you are a lifelong Republican. You say you come from a diehard Republican family. Your mom, your dad's a cop, your brother. So tell us how you've reached this opinion that you don't want to vote for him again.
He's an embarrassment. I mean, I voted for Ted Cruz in the primary, and I did vote for Donald Trump in 2016. Man, it started way before then, but I think Helsinki was probably the breaking point for me. And then you look at all the serious people around him that, after walking away from this administration, has completely obliterated any idea that Donald Trump is this, statesman-like president.
That, and if I can add, the rest of the Republican Party, people like Yoho and Williams and Gates, these guys are making me nauseous to be a Republican, and I've been one since I'm 18 years old. I'll be 60 this year. And it's nauseating to me the way this party behaves. I can't understand why the party hasn't said we need a better solution than the man we have right now.
I'm first generation American. My dad's Cuban, my mom's Colombian. I'm completely pro-life from womb to opposing the death penalty. I mean, there are conservative values that still don't fit with everything. My point is, you can't wholeheartedly bring people to the table and have them discuss policy when your rhetoric, your own tone, your own words are divisive and unhelpful.
So we have a choice. It's either, I feel as a conservative, I either stay home or I vote for Donald Trump. And while I do not like his divisive rhetoric, I knew that in 2016. I saw him when he was on a stage with other conservatives debating how he demeaned them. And I don't like that, but policy was more important to me than the rhetoric.
I don't think a lot of conservatives or Republicans know Joe Biden that well. He was the head of the Judiciary Committee when Clarence Thomas was confirmed for the Supreme Court. Of all of the Democrats that are running, Joe Biden is center of left more than anyone else.
So are you saying, Tommy, that you are getting comfortable with voting for Joe Biden?
Absolutely. I am, absolutely. He's a decent man. He's an honorable statesman. He has a life story.
We're talking about Joe Biden right now. Joe Biden is the same one who said said he didn't want his kids growing up in a racial jungle. We're talking about Joe Biden, who said you can't go to a 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. You're talking about Joe Biden, who has a history of aligning himself with people like Robert Byrd, who was an actual former Grand Wizard of the KKK. So for you to call him a decent man, that's actually a slap in the face to any minority thinking person.
What about there are good people on both sides at a KKK? Rally in Charlottesville. Why doesn't that one bother you as much?
When President Trump said that there were good people on both sides, what he meant by that is there are obviously going to be extremists on both sides of the aisle. Nothing is more evidence of that than what we've seen recently with far left people and far right people. I think my support for him is strengthened when he's willing to call out people like the rioters and protesters out with BLM right now. We're seeing right now is an opportunity that a lot of people are taking to exercise their displeasure with the results of the 2016 presidential election, and they did not let that go. So some of the things that I am proud of the president for is standing up and saying, we're not going to allow this lawlessness to go unchecked. There will be consequences.
And in terms of the riots going on, I agree. That is an opportunity for all kinds of idiots and anarchists to go out and wreak destruction. But the main thing is, it's not Republican values to send a national response to a local problem. It's federalization. He's not allowing local governments to deal with their issues.
It is the duty of the federal government to protect federal landmarks and buildings, and they need to do that. I agree that do not have the power to go in and affect local change, and they should not be doing local policing, but they can't just desert the city and desert all the federal buildings.
Leaders do not instill fear. They instill courage and boldness. We need someone with courage and boldness to lead us, not people who are going to tell us to fear, to hide away, to hide under a rock.
How many of you, show of hands, are worried that something will taint the 2020 presidential elections, that you somehow won't be able to trust it? Show of hands. Okay, so 4 of you are worried about the actual election results. Damani, let me start with you. What worries you?
If we do have people who are going to mail in vote, we have had instances where there has been some tampering, even at smaller or local levels, if you will. So I do think that having mail-in voting instead of think that having mail-in voting instead of actually going to the polls could actually lead to a disastrous result.
My concern is that now we have a president who just simply won't leave. And so when this election occurs, and if it's not, the result isn't in his favor, I don't think the man's going to leave. And that scares me because the peaceful transfer of power is a bedrock of this country. And when we see that, I mean, literally, I think all hell's going to break loose.
Show of hands, how many people think that President Trump may not accept the election results? 3 hands went up, 3 have not.
Well, he'll definitely, I don't think that he will ever refuse to leave the office. What worries me is the mail-in voting, if that's on a massive scale. I'm not saying it would be the Democrats that would do it, that would cheat more than Republicans. I'm just saying the actual integrity. Because with each fake vote, that takes away a real voter's vote.
Let's be real. If mail-in ballots are allowed and Donald Trump wins, he's not going to cry a rigged election. When he says rigged election, he means if he loses, it's rigged.
He's going to win. He's going to win regardless of what tactics and what agenda the left and some of our fellow Republicans here that don't want to go vote, he's still going to win. Because people like me and a minority group who are the majority minority, we love that President Trump is in office. We're going to continue to support him. We're going to turn out to vote.
Time now for the ridiculous, and tonight we welcome to the list first daughter-in-law Lara Trump. Now, normally we wouldn't mention the family member of a president, but she's made herself a very public figure with a public role in the campaign. Who says the president can't hire family members? They do it in dictatorships all the time, and it works great for them. So why not here? We're not that different, are we? Mrs. Trump is now a senior advisor to the Trump re-election campaign. Okay. She's married to the president's son, Eric. Eric's wedding planner, by the way, who was a longtime Trump Organization employee, was given a job at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. According to ProPublica, Lara Trump's brother was also reportedly given a job at the Energy Department. Well, this morning on Varney and Company, a show on Fox Business Network, Lara Trump was, of course, appearing, because, that's what she does, and praising the Trump administration's decision to make it more difficult for people fleeing domestic violence or gang violence in Central America to ask for asylum here in America. Oh, she also doesn't like all those Syrian people who fled the war and ended up in Germany, and she expressed her dislike and her concern in a way that proves once again you don't have to be born into the Trump family to share the president's remarkable grasp of world women's restrictions lifted.
That videotape reminds me of what happened in Europe when there was a march across Europe by a million people who wanted to get into Western Europe. Angela Merkel let them in, open borders.
I'd hate to stay without you, kid.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear.
Or never.
Welcome. SAD weapons restrictions lifted.
And that is our strength.
Keeping on.
job? Create a perfect resume at resume.io.
ESGE Tech Blazer Awards celebrates the spirit of innovation and excellence in tech.
ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. Cargo verified. Thank you.